minute and have a look at something else that's happening on the rest of the continent. Analysts say that President Jacob Zuma's visit to the Democratic Republic of Congo last month. My tongue is playing tricks with me. It came at a very, very critical time in the bilateral relations of the two countries, with the country going to the presidential elections next year. So South Africa has made substantial contributions to the DRC's political process since the late 1990s. The most divisive issue right now is, however, the possibility of a third term for President Joseph Kabila. Joining us from our Pretoria studio is Senior Researcher at the Human Sciences Research Council, Dr. Sylvester Maphosa. Dr. Maphosa, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Now, has South Africa seen a return on investment in terms of its peace and investment efforts in the DRC?
Yes, indeed, there has been a return on investment, but it is a process and it needs time to mature. And this return on investment can only be stabilized by the stability of the Democratic Republic of Congo in terms of its institutions and also its economic potential.
Which African country do you feel holds sway in the DRC currently? I mean, reports depicting Angola as holding the trump card.
The DR Congo has a great potential to play a major role in terms of the integration and the bilateral trade between African countries, and so its stability really has a great potential to drive the African continent towards Agenda 2063.
I mean, some analysts have said that South Africa needs a well-articulated political vision for the DRC, which includes seeking to dissuade Kabila from a third term. Is this really our place? I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Certainly, the political issues of the DR Congo are the prerogative of the Congolese themselves. We, as the South Africans, may have an interest, but really our vision cannot be imposed on the Congolese people. It is the opportunity and it is the prerogative of the Congolese people to decide on their way forward in terms of their democratic aspirations.
There's also been some concern that President Kabila is not attending SADC meetings, which I think really is making it quite difficult to convey regional decisions. Why do you think that this is the case?
Well, there is a plethora of factors that may be causing this. Already we know, but certainly Kabila has not come out in terms of his position, in terms of running for the third term. But there are all these indications that he might be tempted to run for the third term, but that we still await to hear from himself what he's going to declare, whether he will stand for third term. But really what makes him not attend the SADC meetings, there may be other factors that are beyond our as analysts, our comprehension.
I mean, South Africa also being accused of being too quiet on the reduction of the mandate for MONUSCO or its complete departure ahead of the presidential elections. Why was the UN mission reduced? And how do you think this is actually going to impact the peace in the country?
Well, yeah, it's the role that is played by MONUSCO is quite complex, and from my own perspective, we still need MONUSCO's presence, looking at the humanitarian tragedy in the eastern DR Congo. Of course, it has stayed for long, and we expect that as a peacekeeping operation, it really must come to end so that it can give way to peaceful relations and democratic transition. But certainly South Africa has a role to play in the DR Congo, as it has contributed militarily and otherwise, if you may like to refer to the Force Intervention Brigade that brought to an end the M23 movement.
I mean, reports claim that the current political climate is very tense and not conducive to the holding of credible democratic elections and the long-term consolidation of peace and security. Is this an adequate description of sentiments at the moment?
There is a great potential. Indeed, for me personally, what the continent has invested in the DR Congo and what the international community has also invested in the DR Congo, it's something to be marveled and appalled. If you look at the stability in terms of the reduction of rebel attacks on civilians, if you look at the willingness of the people themselves, to address their issues in more democratic and more inclusive ways. And if you look at the opening up of spaces in terms of economic opportunities that DR Congo has played with the neighboring countries in the region, and South Africa in particular, this is evidence enough that there is good, there is positive, that is ongoing. And indeed, if President Joseph Kabila takes this opportunity to step down and allow another player to come in, he might stand as the father of democracy in the DR Congo, and this will further go on to stabilize the region. If you look at the DR Congo conflict, together with the Central African Republic conflict, Mali and Ivory Coast, these are the major conflicts that present challenges to Africa's economic strength and stability. So if Kabila paves way for democratic elections next year and pulls out to run for the third term, this, in my view, will go a long way into strengthening democratic and peaceful aspirations in the Democratic Republic of Congo and also in the entire region. Bearing in mind what happened in the neighboring state of Burundi, when President Pierre Nkurunziza ran for another term, which was against the constitution after the constitution was also tweaked. Masses have been oppressed. We know right now that there are many people in Burundi who are discontented and they are coercively oppressed and suppressed. And this is not an ideal context for democratic aspirations of our people if we are to achieve the dreams of Agenda 2063.
I mean, we're seeing now a lot of militant action as well, and I'm busy reading the latest news of what's actually happening in the DRC, and it's quite scary as to what's going on there. I mean, citizens in several towns of the east of the country are declaring a stay at home over violence that are committed by militant group against civilians. What I'm reading is it's believed that people declared a 3-day shutdown since Monday after 1 woman and 2 men were allegedly stabbed by members of the Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, that of course being the FDLR. This is in the Kivu province. This insecurity it's everywhere. I mean, this obviously playing a major role as well.
It's a tragedy that the humanitarian situation, is having these sporadic flares of violence that we see. Indeed, there needs to be, collaborated ways in which to address these cross-border rebel organizations such as the FDLR. And in order for long-term stability of the eastern part of the Congo, such rebel movements need to be curtailed. And this would allow the free movement of civilians and to engage in their economic and political activities that can strengthen their aspirations as a nation. Just
a final question. I mean, we saw as we began the interview talking about President Jacob Zuma's visit there, and then less than 2 weeks later, we see this deal coming through between South Africa and the DRC. I mean, it's the first plan since 2010 where we're actually seeing the IDC planning to buy a stake in Alpha Min Resources Corporation. It's a big deal for us, and the IDC saying they never step away from a challenge. But Is this a good idea? I mean, after everything we've spoken about and the challenges that the country's facing right now, do you think going and investing in the DRC as South Africans is a clever decision?
Yes, Leah. I would like to highlight the important function of understanding human security in terms of intersectionality conceptions. These processes, these different spaces that make the challenges that we face, that we have talked about, and that create also the opportunities such as the one that the President embarked on, resulting to this investment, they occur simultaneously. One cannot be dissociated from the other. And so as we face these challenges, also in order to strengthen the democratic aspirations of the DR Congo, they need to be supported by economic activities. Through bilateral trade, this will create more opportunities even for the citizens of the DR Congo, and also it will create the kind of returns that we need as a country in South Africa. So indeed, we cannot separate these activities from the other. We need, and they need to be supported and to be strengthened as we also work on driving peaceful relations. We also need to work on driving economic integration and economic trade that would allow us as a continent, if we are looking at this from a whole of society perspective, to achieve the aspirations of the African Union and Agenda 2063. We need to encourage economic growth and also prevention of violence.
Okay, let's leave it there. Thank you so much for your analysis here on the program. Dr. Sylvester Maphosa, who is from the Human Sciences Research Council. He's a senior researcher there. Thank you again. Just a quick update. I've just seen